again, everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. As you guys can see from the title down below, this is some more short Walmart stories. You guys know if I have like a long story, it'll get its own video, but yeah, these are just some short stories for you guys that hopefully you will find as amusing as I did when I was actually in the situation. So the first story that I'm going to tell you guys today is about the time that a older gentleman got very mad at me and started screaming at me. So a little bit of backstory here. My Walmart that I worked at had 2 CSMs on duty at all times. It was very rare that they would have a scheduling conflict where only one was on the floor at any given time. So this particular instance, we did only have 1 CSM on the floor, and that was because one of them had gotten off like 30 minutes prior and the other one was just running a little bit late. So it was about, I would say, 6 or 7 o'clock. And on this particular day, we were extremely busy all day long. So once the other CSM clocked out, things kind of got really chaotic because a lot of people were running out of change at the same time. So he was having to constantly go to the back and get more change for every single person. Not to mention fielding like overrides and having to go to the customer service desk. It was just a whole big thing, and honestly, CSMs deserve every penny that they make, assuming that they actually do their job and don't just go and hide in the back like a lot of them do. But anyway, this particular CSM was a pretty good CSM. I liked him a lot. Never had really any issues with him when I was on shift. So I was working at one of the tobacco and alcohol counters, which I know some Walmarts have whole aisles for alcohol, but mine was a pretty small Walmart, so there were only 2 lanes where you could buy tobacco products, and also most of the like liquor and stuff was behind those cabinets as well, or those counters as well. There was some beer and stuff in the back by like the yogurt and everything, but the like expensive liquor and stuff like that was behind these 2 registers. So I was on one, and another girl was right beside me, and we were both open, like checking people as quickly as we could because it was just a madhouse in there. And this man comes up to my register, and he's got several different things, just random items it seems like to me, and he had a DVD. And the newer DVDs, I think, all get put in like the little locked cases, which you have to have a key to open. And only the managers, or the CSMs and managers, have keys to unlock the case and get the DVD out. So I explained that to him. I was like, I'm going to have to call my manager. If you're willing to wait, that's fine. I can go ahead and check you out, and then when he can come over here and unlock it for you. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I do that, and I go down to the other register, like, here's me, and here's the girl at the other register. Her register had a phone on it, like where you could talk over the intercom. So I went down there and got the phone, and I called for the CSM to come to my register. And we waited, and it was like 10 minutes. I cashed out a couple of other people because, like I said, he already paid. He's standing at the side. And so the manager comes over there. Finally, it was like 20 minutes. 20 minutes, I think. Yeah, it was probably 20 minutes. And the manager finally comes over, and as I see the manager walking toward me, this old man gets fed up, and he hands it back to me, and he says, here, I don't want this anymore. Just take it and give me my money back. If you know how Walmart works, you know that if you have a return or an exchange, you have to go to the customer service desk, and they have to process it. We can't do it at a normal register. And especially not the tobacco and alcohol lanes. They're like, the counter space is like this big. They don't even have the rolling conveyor belt to help your stuff. It's tiny. I was like, sir, you're gonna have to go to customer service. My manager is coming right this second. So if you could just wait just a second, he will literally be here in like 5 seconds. And he was just like, no, I want to return it now. And I was like, well, you have to take it to the customer service desk if you do not want it anymore. I'm sorry, that's the way that it works. So this man turns to me and he says, well, you can just take it over there. And I was just like, well, I can't do that. I can't leave the alcohol and tobacco line. It's against like policy. Like, you can't do it. And he's like, well, then you could just take it and shove it up your butt. And he like threw the DVD at me. And I was just like, what? Are you a crazy person? What are you doing? So my manager comes over there and he like sees that this man is really upset and like everything. And I was kind of like laughing inside, but I was also kind of like freaked out because like this man threw a plastic DVD case at me. And it had like sharp corners. It's not a cool thing if you know what I'm talking about. And there's a lady that I was like about to check out right before he started this whole thing. And she looks at him and she looks back at me and she rolls her eyes. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. And so my manager gets him all taken care of or whatever, unlocks the thing and sends him on his way. And as this man's turning to leave, the lady that rolled her eyes at me, like talking about like him, that I was gonna check her out, she turns to me and she says it really loud so that this man can hear. Don't worry about that, sweetie. Some people are just assholes. I fell out laughing. The man like turned around. I don't think he really did anything, but I kind of thought that he was gonna flip her off or something because that's just the kind of person he seems to be. But I don't know. It was really weird. He was super impatient, even though I could literally see my manager coming. He decided to start a whole big thing. I don't know. People are crazy. The next story starts with me on a Sunday morning. It was about 8 or 9 o'clock, I would say. I worked a lot of Sunday morning shifts. It's just so slow and so boring because everyone's in church. So there's barely anybody there. They only schedule about 3 or 4, more like 3 cashiers to work the morning on Sunday morning because it's so slow. So I'm standing at the end of my lane because that's what we're supposed to do when we don't have a customer. We stand out there and wait. And I was standing there with one of my coworkers that I talk to pretty frequently. We're friends, and so I'm talking to her. We're having a conversation. And she's an older lady. She's not like old, but she's not young. Her hair's graying a little bit, but like, you know. So we're just standing there having conversation, blah, blah, blah. And this lady and her children walk past us. And my coworker, like, of course, she loves children. She has grandchildren. She loves them. And so she walks over and she starts talking to like these 2 children, and one of them is obviously a girl, and the other one had very long hair, like very long for a child. So I assumed that this child was also a girl. My bad. I didn't mean to do that. I don't know. It's just what popped into my brain. So anyways, she's asking all these questions and whatever. It's cool. So they're just talking. Mind you, the other little child was not old enough to really talk very much. Like he was walking around, but he wasn't like talking coherently. You know, I don't know when babies do things, but he would say a word here or there, but he wasn't, you know, he wasn't spitting out like 7 sentences at a time. So anyway, she's over there, she's talking to the kid. I'm not paying too much attention. Like, I love kids. I think they're adorable. But when it comes to work, I'm not prone to interact with people outside of doing my job. And I don't know if that makes me a bad worker or what have you, but I'm not prone to having extracurricular conversations. So I'm just standing there and watching them, and this lady turns to my coworker and me, and she says, can you watch my kids for me while I shop? And we're like, Well, I'm like, what? This is Walmart. This is not a babysitting service. I don't know if you thought you came to care.com, but this is Walmart. Okay, no, I can't watch your child. No, that's not part of the job description. So my coworker is like, yeah, I'll watch him. And I'm like, what do you mean you'll watch him? And she's on an alcohol and tobacco line, so she can't leave her register. And like, if a customer comes up, what you gonna do with the kid then? Like, what are you gonna do? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, she's inevitably gonna have to do something and leave these children with me. And like, the girl is like older. She's like 6 or 7. So I'm like, why are we watching you? What? So I'm standing there and I'm watching her watch these children. And of course she is loving it. She's having a big time. She's loving it. So whatever, I check a few people out and then she comes over to me and she's like, hey, I have a customer. I need you to watch these kids. And I'm like, these are not my children. Why am I having to do this? Like, this is not part of my job. If something happens, like if they do something they're not supposed to, it's not my fault. What? So anyway, I'm like, okay, whatever. So the girl comes over and this little boy comes over, and I thought it was a girl, mind you, because of the extremely long hair. That's probably wrong of me to assume that, and I know it was wrong of me to assume that because this child turned out to be a boy. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, I'm talking to this little girl. I mean, like I said, it was slow. So I'm sitting there, I'm talking to this little girl, I'm asking her like, oh, what do you like to do? Blah, 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 you know, whatever you ask kids. And so then the little boy wanders over to the candy, which is right there by the register. And I'm like, no, don't get into that. You can't have that. No, sorry, your mom's gonna have to pay for it. And he's just like, but I want it. And I'm like, no. So then I'm trying to distract him, right? I'm like, oh, what's your name? Butter. This child tells me his name is Butter. Excuse me? Like, margarine? Like, I can't believe it's not butter. What do you mean? So I'm sitting there, I'm standing there, and I'm like, your name is Butter? And he says yes. And I was like, country crock? Y'all, I can't. So I turn to his sister and I say, is her name Butter? And she said, yeah, but that's a boy. His name is Butter. And I'm like, hold up. What do you mean? I still don't understand. Like, his name is Butter. Like, for real? Like, for real, his name is Butter? What? So, anyway, that was extremely strange. Like, what? So, anyway, thank God, their parents, or their mom, rather, comes back pretty soon after that and relieves me of my child care duties, because last time I checked, I work for Walmart. This is not care.com. I'm sorry, you have come to the wrong place. So the final story I will tell you guys today about working at Walmart is the story of the time that I got hit on by a tattoo artist's son and his mother tried to sell me Mary Kay. So I'm sitting there at my register. It's like 10:45, 15 minutes until I get to leave and until we close a majority of the registers. So I'm like, hallelujah, bless up, I'm ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. So I'm standing there, I'm waiting for somebody, and here comes this dude and his mom. So I'm like, perfect, last customers, let's go. They've got like a buggy full of stuff. So they come through, and the mom's like, well, we have 2 separate things. And I'm like, whatever. So the mom goes first, and while she's like putting her stuff up there, her son like looks at me, and all they could see was like this one, because this one's the only one that I had right there. So I was, you know, ringing up her stuff, and he looks at me and he's like, oh, I like your tattoo. Look, let me show you my tattoo. My dad did it. And so he shows me. It's obviously the most terrible tattoo I've ever seen. And so I was just like, nice, cool. Where does your dad tattoo? And he's like, oh, he tattoos in our garage. He got his machine in last week. And I was like, of course he did. So anyway, and so his mom pipes in, and she's like, oh yeah, look at this. And she like pulls up her shirt, her sleeve, to like show me the worst tattoo I've ever seen. Like, it's just so bad. And so I'm like, oh, nice, yeah, it's great. And he's like just hitting on me. It's like so weird. He's like, yeah, I really like your tattoo. Like, do you have other ones? Like, can I see them? Like, can you show me pictures or whatever? And I'm like, no, I can't, no. So, anyways, ring her stuff up. He puts his stuff up there. What was he buying? Brownie mix, laxatives, and stuff to make brownies. His mom said it was because his little sister pissed him off. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, first of all, why are you allowing this to happen? Why are you endorsing this? And then she looks at me and she's like, oh, do you want my husband's phone number so you can come get a tattoo? And I was like, no. I was like, sure, whatever. I'll humor you. So anyway, she writes it down on like a receipt paper or whatever, and she gives it to me. I threw it away immediately. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I have an artist that I really like, you know. I don't know if I'll do that, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, well, I also sell Mary Kay. If you want some Mary Kay, we have Mary Kay. I'm trying to get it to Avon. And I'm like, oh my God, no. So that was awful. I got them out of there as quickly as I could. I saw them several times after that. It was very awkward because I wanted nothing to do with them. And yeah, don't get tattoos from people who got their machine a week ago and do not work in a shop, because you will probably get an infection of some kind. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. Leave me a like if you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe, because I make new videos every Monday and Friday. Thank you guys once again so much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!